if it's all dirty and the service sucks and, everybody's rude, nobody's sticking around for the food.
So one of the guys runs out and grabs it, and they put this deep dish pizza in front of the chef, and they open it up, and he stares at it for a second, and he's like, what on earth do I do with this? And then he creates this incredible Michelin star dish out of it with microgreens and all of this incredible. I love that.
My iced tea is never empty. The lady just comes and tops it off, right? And it being brought to you without having to ask, that's just worth something. So what are we doing? We're helping people, right? That's what sales is. And if you can't enjoy helping people, then get the fuck out of the business. I find it liberating to be able to say, you know what, man, you have a problem, but I don't think I can help you.
I think more people should be willing to put their hand up and go, hey, this isn't a good fit, primarily just because it bites you later on down the line.
Hey, welcome to Sales and Cigars, the podcast for entrepreneurs where the only smoke we blow is cigar smoke. I'm your host, Walter Crosby with Helix Sales Development, and this episode is brought to you by the Sales Integrator. Crush your sales obstacles with the Sales Integrator. So today's episode, I have a conversation with a salesperson, Matthew Higham from Deksia. And this is part of my theme about salespeople and digging into a little bit about more what makes us tick. And this theme, I asked Matthew why the fuck he got into sales. He tells a great story about his days as an entrepreneur and how he leaned into sales. And we talk a little bit about what he had to overcome to be successful. We talk a little bit about this book called Unreasonable Hospitality and why every business owner should read it. The lessons learned from this conversation will help you with employee retention, differentiate your business, and help you with margins. Matthew shares one thing that business owners think salespeople are good at, make some assumptions, but we're not. And this little idea can save you a lot of consternation and it really help your team. So go grab a cigar, grab a cocktail, strap in for another educational and fun episode of Sales and Cigars. Thanks. Matthew, welcome to the program. I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy year-end schedule trying to close business.
Walter, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So we met, a couple of months ago? We met
last month, yeah. Last month, maybe the month before.
Yeah, when we were doing, Deksia was doing a round table and I got to sit at the table and talk. So I've been looking forward to doing this. It's part of our salespeople theme for 26, interviewing some salespeople to kind of talk about, what goes on in their crazy brain. So before we get rolling in the conversation, let me ask a question I ask a lot of guests. Is there a book that you reread or is there a book that you gift often to business people?
Yeah, very much so. Mine would be Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara, which takes some people off guard, which is an interesting one because it's not necessarily like sales oriented.
But it is. Hospitality is about sales.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep. People read that and they go, oh, restaurant, how does that convert? But I think that book is so unanimous. I think every business leader, every salesperson can benefit from that, particularly in an agency context. It mirrors front of house, back of house so clearly as a model. I love that book. I think everyone should read it. I think it's fantastic.
But most businesses, right, you got manufacturing or operations back of the house.
Yep.
Right? Very important.
Yep.
Right? If the chef doesn't prepare the meal properly, you're done.
Yep.
But the front of the house, I mean, if it's all dirty and the service sucks and everybody's rude, nobody's sticking around for the food, right? It works everywhere. Yep. I had the opportunity to eat at that restaurant. I didn't pay for it, which was cool. That's why I was able to enjoy it a little bit more.
Did you eat it before EMP went vegan or after EMP went vegan?
Before.
Okay, good. Because I was really disappointed when I found out that 11 Madison Park went vegan because I always wanted to, and then I was like, no, I'm not getting myself there. No.
Yeah. But there's one story in there that's so good where they overheard I mean, they did a lot of listening to people, right? Right.
Yep.
The one about the kids going on the sleds to go sledding the one time at Central
The
Park.
story, I think, from the book, the story. Yeah.
Well, I think the one that's a little better was that they're all going through their experiences and what they got everything done they wanted to do, but get a dirty water dog, right? That the hot dog from the Umbrella Cafe, which are, you know, I mean, they're a quick little meal, right? They're disgusting, but they were great. So they overheard the family talking about that, and he ran out and got 2 hot dogs, took them back to the chef, and said, "Hey, plate these." And it was like, "What?" You know, right? I remember the little back and forth conversation. He plated it, took it out, and they were so appreciative. And but what did that cost? Right back then, maybe $4.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, the plate and the dishwashing and the all that costs more than the hot dogs. But giving them that experience, it was something they would talk about for the rest of their life.
Very much so. There's a scene in The Bear. Have you seen The Bear, the TV show?
My daughter's trying to get me to watch it. I just can't get past the first couple episodes.
So it's essentially written around the concept of unreasonable hospitality. They read it in the show. They mirror all these different interactions in the show. And the way that they mirror that in the TV show is that they overhear some guests looking for a Chicago deep dish pizza, because the restaurant's based in Chicago. So one of the guys runs out and grabs it, and they put this deep dish pizza in front of the chef, and they open it up, and he stares at it for a second, and he's like, "What on earth do I do with this?" And then he creates this incredible Michelin star dish out of it with microgreens and all of this incredible. And I think I love that. I love that image. I love that picture. Even just as you were saying, like paying really close attention, really listening to what your client, what your customer, what your guest is really looking for.
There's so many lessons in there, but listening. Right? Being creative and taking initiative. The other thing they talk about in that book is they give their people authority to do stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And there was a dollar value on it at one point as they were growing, that they could just go spend a couple of grand to solve a problem or to make something special. I mean, granted, you know, it was a couple of grand to eat there. Right. And you didn't do it every day. Well, most people didn't do it every day. It was for special occasions. But what you said earlier was that it's what every agency could try to mirror, what every organization could try to bring to the party. And it doesn't matter if you're a freaking barista at a coffee shop or a waitress at a little Coney Island diner. Right. You still can just. There's a little thing that you can do that's unexpected, right? When you're at a diner, you don't expect this amazing service. But the one I go to, my glass, I usually get iced tea, no matter what time of day I'm there. My iced tea is never empty.
Right.
The lady just comes and tops it off, right? Which is like coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, but not having to ask and it being brought to you without having to ask. I mean, that's just worth something.
It is. And often when I talk around this and when I've spoken to other people about this, the pushback we get is, man, we sell $4 lattes, we sell whatever that looks like, or maybe, you know, the clients aren't paying enough, or how do we balance that? And sure, maybe the lifetime value of your client isn't $12,000 to $15,000, and so it's not that easy to kind of rein that in. It doesn't need to be high ticket spend. And that's what I love about that book. And I think it really democratizes the entire concept. It certainly sets a bar and it sets a high standard. Not all of us are, you know, whisking parents and their children to Central Park in the evening in the snow. And it's very romantic. I think the reality behind this is more consistent. How do you deliver these experiences over and over and over again? And the grind almost that's required to show up and do that over and over and over again maybe is something that's not quite as mentioned in the book, which is really interesting. It's these wonderful big experiences on a small scale, on a slightly smaller agency level. How we deploy that, how we kind of make that work in our world. is a lot of thinking and it's a lot of ideas. Realistically, it's more bad ideas than good ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is a quantity conversation, not a quality conversation, because eventually you'll get there. Quantity really breeds quality here. And so I find that when you get stuck on how do we bring the perfect idea to the table, we really want to make this work. They had 1,000 guests come through their restaurant before they hit that one out of the park and took the kids to Central Park. And don't kid yourself, they did 30, 40 of these attempts and they fell flat on their face and nothing was ever acknowledged before they had their first hit. So I think it's a quantity conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, right? You're gonna have to try and fail, just like anything, right? It's the best way to learn. But it doesn't have to be something spectacular.
Yeah.
It really comes down to just listening to what people are saying, making sure that they feel heard, right? And from a sales context.
Yeah.
If they really feel like, let me make sure I got what you said. Let me repeat it back to you. And you can literally say that and they're like, yeah, you got it. Okay. Right. And then you can move on to the next thing.
Yep.
But if you're listening really well, you can figure out something that's just a little bit extra that you can give them. Yep. It may not even cost you money.
Right.
It might just be something you say later that they're like, hey, I remember when we first talked that you told me you really, really needed to double your business in 3 years.
Yep.
And we're 2.5 years into this relationship. And it looks like that we're going to do that early. Yep. I mean, how does that make you feel?
Yep.
Right. But you're remembering something that happened 2.5 years before,
right?
As a driver, right? And that may be a silly example, but it's just making people feel special is all it is. And hospitality, I don't care. Like, I go into retail stores, I go into restaurants, and I don't expect, perfection.
Yeah.
I just want somebody to pay attention and,
yes,
acknowledge, right? Even if they're in the weeds, as they say in the restaurant business.
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody just gives you I'll be with you in a minute, right? You can see they're in the weeds, but they know that that they're acknowledged that. Okay. You give them their grace.
For sure.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about how you got into sales, and more importantly, why the fuck did you get into sales?
Such a good question. I love how you phrased that. So my background was in the creative world more than anything. I had aspirations to do traveling videography. Bounced around in the production world for a minute. I think I really came to a point where I realized that the thrill of the sale was what I was actually looking forward to more than delivering the work on the other side of things. I ran a small creative studio with a mentor of mine in my early 20s, and I remember being enthralled by the sales calls when I was very early in my career, and I was like, this is what I'm looking forward to. And the honest answer of getting off the other end of it and having sold a video editing package or something along those lines of things and being like, oh no, I have to actually go and deliver that end of the conversation. I think I enjoyed the former more, and it took me a while to really get into that seat. And I think for me, it was partly the recognition that not everyone actually wants to do this. I think I had this understanding and very early in my career that everybody loved these conversations and that everybody loved the thrill of that and that everybody loved the kind of risk end of it, which is not true at all in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
no, that's not and then I think part of it as well came from a desire that I genuinely love people and find these conversations to be sales conversations and account management conversations and very much energizing for me in a way that means I flow through my week, and it's a privilege to do what I do for a living. I get to spend time with some of the most wonderful people, and so for me it really came down to started on one end of it where I thought, okay, sure, let's run a creative studio. Really enjoyed my time doing that. During that time, definitely had more fun on the sales end, and I'm very much just trying to live my life of what I actually enjoy doing, frankly, Walter. I refuse to get to 65 and be like, I just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so very much nailed in on what I wanted to do.
Well, there's a couple of things in there that I'd like to unpack. You said people, that you love people, that you enjoy what you're doing in life. You didn't say it, but life is too short to not be doing something that you enjoy.
Absolutely.
Right? You don't want to get to the rocking chair and be like disappointed you didn't have a good time.
Yep, that's it.
Most people are terrified of what they think sales is.
Yes.
And what they think is involved, because they have the wrong idea for starters. Because I mean, if you really think about, and when I'm doing a training or coaching salespeople, it's like, what are you selling? And I don't care what you're selling, right? You're selling feelings. You're selling this emotion of what somebody's going to get or get away from, right? The joy or avoid the pain that they're doing. So what are we doing? We're helping people, right? That's what sales is. And if you can't enjoy helping people, then get the fuck out of the business, right? I mean, is it hard? Oh yeah, it's really hard. I mean, we got to show up and create something usually, right? And you're going to call people that aren't expecting your phone call, right? You're going to interrupt them. Yeah, that's what we're doing. But if we're not having a good time doing it, then I think we're doing it wrong.
I would agree completely.
It's a lonely business too.
It certainly can be. That's for sure. I think so. It's funny you mentioned calling people. One of the moments where on the journey for me, and it was a little bit further down, I knew that I was leaning into a sales seat. I was working for a real estate investment company, and I was cold calling to buy houses. I loved it. Absolutely. And everyone else around me was like, that sounds horrible. And we were trying to hire people on to do this role, and we couldn't get people to make more than, we had a 4-line dialer, right? And we couldn't get people to make more than 50, 60 calls in a row. I was like, what is so hard about this? This is a game. This is fun. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is amazing. I love this. And I remember I took over it for a week and I hit such a high number, and it was another one of those milestones where I was like, oh, I don't have a normal appetite for this versus most people. And I don't know that most people would enjoy this as much as I'm enjoying it. So I just lent into it more and more and more on that side of things. Yeah. But
I mean, we're a little weird. A
little bit.
Right?
Yeah.
And I can't say that I love making prospecting calls. It's a requirement, right, of what we do. And but if when I do it, I get myself in a frame of mind where it's like, here's the image. I got to sell something. Okay. But I don't want anybody to know that I got to sell something. Right. So the story I heard when I was first starting out is like, you park your car in a parking lot that's going to cost $20 to get it out, and you got 10 in your pocket. Mm-hmm. So you got to go sell something, right? I'm old, right? So you used to be able to go collect money to make a sale. And that's pressure.
Right.
And you don't want the customer to feel like you got to sell this, right? And you don't want them to feel that way. So I always try to put pressure on myself, but then you fall backwards, and that pressure helps me relax.
Yeah.
To say, really, why is it that this is important? What, help me understand why this is the time to do it now. And it seems counterintuitive, but putting that pressure on really helps me relax. And I'm wondering if that's something, in terms of mindset. You said you gamified it.
Basically.
Is that your shtick, right? You're going to just make it fun?
Make it fun. And it's funny, that's a core value here at Deksia. So everything we do, we try and make it fun.
Yeah, I have a t-shirt with a little dog with a party hat that says "Make it fun."
Is that from us?
It is.
I love that. Yeah, I think in some ways it comes fairly naturally to me that it is fun. I think I have a very high desire for acts of service towards other people, truthfully, and always have done. It's a way that I like to serve and be with other people. So for me, sales as service is probably a better ethos for me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why it's so important to really believe in what you're selling, and why we've had a hard time in the past, and why I think people have a tough time when they're selling stuff that they don't really buy and they're not really in on. The reality is, if you have a great team behind you and you truly believe in what you're selling, it should be a service for you. If you found the right people, which is up to you in the end to get your right fit clients in front of you, then actually me selling this to you is a service to you. And that can sound arrogant if you don't actually believe it. And so the minute that you're like, oh, it's a service for me to sell this to you, you should love it that I'm selling it to you, and kind of miss it. The whole point is that it genuinely is, and you genuinely do need this, and this is actually a solution to the pain that you were talking about.
But you're helping them.
Yeah.
You're helping them. But
Right.
The other side of that coin is you also have the obligation to say, I don't think this is a fit.
And I think more people should say that in sales. I think more people should be willing to put their hand up and go, hey, this isn't a good fit, primarily just because it bites you later on down the line. If you push it through and it's not a good fit, and 6 months later
it's going to fall apart. People are going to be upset. You know, somebody might be like, what do you mean I'm not a good fit? And they get all upset. I'd rather have that.
Yes.
Than somebody pay a bunch of money and it's not good. Right.
Yep.
And part of that is that we have to have the experience of doing the stupid thing.
Right.
Trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And knowing that that's not going to work. I find it liberating to be able to say, you know what, man, you have a problem, but I don't think I can help you.
Right.
And then you give them a valid reason. Right. And it should be enough. And if it's not, you still get to say no.
Right.
Right. You still get to say no. It's our time, it's our effort, and it's the right thing to do. And if we're looking at it from that perspective, then it is a service that we're providing. And you said something else about you got to believe in what you're selling, right? Yeah. So if you're selling a shitty little product, then you probably shouldn't be, because if you know it's a shitty little product, you shouldn't be putting your name associated with it, because that's what you're doing. The people thing, and maybe I'm splitting hairs here. But I don't like people. I like individuals. People, as a rule, as a group, they suck. But when you're dealing with people like one-on-one or one-on-two, right? You get a small little table and people are sitting at it. That's cool, right? You can relate to the humans. But when you get people, and I just think of people as in mass. They're just awful.
I might disagree with you there, Walter, if I'm really honest. And I think this might be part of the reason that I love it. I think that under the surface, people are good. And so when I'm interacting with them, that there's a certain fascination that I have into finding that moment. And I find that even in the most complicated and bumpiest of clients that I've had over the last 10, 13 years that I've done this, there's always a moment in those interactions, and it speaks to what you're saying, to be honest with you, and I hear what you are saying. There's always a moment in those interactions, and this is true across the board in general, where the rapport clicks. And that moment for me is like magic, where I'm like, okay, maybe we've done 4 calls already and it's been rough, or maybe the first 2 calls were like 100% objection handling for me, and I'm like, oh, another one, I'm tired, okay, let's go. And then then it clicks from prospect or lead to like, oh, human. Okay, there it goes. There's that relational click in that moment there. And I think for me, that's a real motivator, honestly, when I'm building.
Yeah, I hear you, and you're not wrong, right? You're looking for that. You're taking the challenge.
Yeah.
And objections like that, that's fine. That's what we're supposed to deal with. But I find it difficult with a large group of people to build that rapport, right? And it's a skill set I don't have. Selling from the stage, I don't have that skill set, right? I haven't honed it. I haven't been interested in doing it. But I think when you're dealing with that small group and there's somebody that's bumpy, somebody that's grumpy, right. I love it, right? Yeah. I love that because then it's like I get to turn them around. I mean, I once had a meeting with a guy at 7:30 in the morning, and I show up. There's nobody at the reception desk, so I just walk around and I'm like, hello, and some guy yells from the back like, who is it? And I'm like, it's your 7:30 appointment. And so I don't have a 7:30 appointment. I'm like, you do, and it's me. So I go in there and I get him to recognize it, but he's like, pissed off, right? I mean, he was literally angry, and I'm like, dude, it's not even 7:30, and you're really upset. Who pissed in your orange juice this morning? Because it wasn't me. I just got here,
right?
And he like completely stopped, sat back in his chair. He's like, you're right. And he got up and came over and shook my hand, right? And he's like, sit down. And I'm like, you okay? And he's like, no, I'm not okay. Now, you want to talk about it? And then he proceeded to tell me about a fight he had with his wife and blah, 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 right? But 20 minutes later, right, to me, that's a challenge.
Yep.
And that was fun, right? Because you get past the thing.
Yep.
But if you got 100 of those people and you're outnumbered, that's a pain. Maybe I'm just splitting hairs, but so let me ask you a couple of questions about sales that I think I have opinions about these, but I kind of want to hear yours. What do business owners and you don't have to be specific about Aaron and Joshua, right? Let's just set that aside for a minute. But what do business owners think salespeople are good at? And they expect them to be able to figure it out, but we can't, where we need the help.
I would say that most salespeople tend to lack detail-oriented thinking. And I think I have a wonderful team here at Deksia that helps with scopes and helps build out scopes and things like that. So I would say that. I would say putting someone who's like 100% thoroughbred sales in the seat, and then expecting them to be able to build out a highly detailed plan for things. Sometimes
dotting I's and crossing T's.
Yeah, dotting I's and crossing T's instead of how far across the line can we get this? Okay, great. And I mean, I would say that is truthfully, caveat for Josh and Aaron aside, that we are built like that. Very much so, on the sales side of things, and so it is. The expectation is absolutely there to be as detail oriented as possible. But the ops team on the back end of this is absolutely remarkable, and their ability to capture detail is amazing.
So that business owner needs to have, if he wants the thoroughbred, as you say, the one that can go out and bring in the opportunity and get it closed. Then we need to make sure that we have the handoff, the transition, where we need to be able to check boxes and like because we know the information,
right? We're
just not going to be able to put it down in a piece of paper without like, what do you want? I'll tell you what you need to know, right? Mm-hmm. I had a client where there was this really, really super organized woman. And she was responsible for the closing part of the business, right? Literally closing of a home. And she was like, you're going to have to fire this guy. He's ridiculous. He doesn't, blah, blah. She's just kind of venting on him. I'm like, you're upset because he doesn't dot I's and cross T's. And she's like, yeah, basically that's it. I'm like, yeah, that's your job. Dot I's, cross T's. His job is to go out and create something out of nothing. Now, does he need to check the boxes and fill in the basics? Yes. But he has all that information because I just talked to him, right? So if you have to ask him a couple of questions and fill in the blanks, that's what you're going to have to do. Because I need 5 more of him.
I think it's realizing that that's not the only seat you need, realistically, to get something over the line fully, and to execute it fully. That there are more skill sets required to close the deal than just sales, which is a really interesting. People don't like to hear that, but it is true. You need a broader skill set. You need people who think differently. You need more than just that one person. You think about it like a race driver or a jet pilot. They go nowhere without the team around them, realistically. And while they very well might be the one in the car, and they might be the one driving. They're going nowhere without the team.
And sales is exactly right. We nothing happens. I mean, we're salespeople, so we're going to believe nothing happens without us starting it. Right. But nothing happens if we got to go get it done.
Yep.
We got to go make the thing, right? If you got to go put the website together or build out the brand architecture document, you're not going to do that, right? You can't do that. That's why we have people that do certain things. But I think there is that balance, that piece. You have a valid point. They can't just expect us to fill in every little detail without the help, right? And if they want us to do the right things, and we need a checklist, just like the surgeon, just like the pilot, they all have checklists. Yep. Right. And they literally have it. The pilot has it on his leg, strapped to his leg to make sure that he's going through he's done everything he's supposed to do. Same thing with the surgeon. Yep. There's somebody responsible for cutting out the number of sponges that they used.
And it comes down to those core processes being dialed and well tested and proven, and this works, and we know this works, and here's how we follow the process through, for sure.
And we need to tell the salespeople, here's the minimum that you have to give us. Right.
Yes.
And when you have the really, really great, crazy salesperson, you might need to have somebody help them interview that stuff so that they can go back out and talk to more peoples. So I think it's interesting. I've had a couple other conversations with salespeople, and they didn't think as a 10-year-old, I want to be a salesperson. I haven't found that person yet. But you did. You sort of leaned into it because you enjoyed it. You didn't enjoy the other thing. You had to do both for a while, right? But then you made your choices.
Yeah,
and that's what I think the difference is that if you make the choice and you go in with the right attitude, right, of service is what you're talking about, Absolutely. And that you want to be of service to people in the community, and that's something that Deksia does.
Yes.
They actually do the stuff that their core values are not just written up on a wall, and right, you guys live them.
Very much so. Yeah.
I mean, Aaron once tried to get me to go do something, and I'm like, I'm not an employee. I was a consultant. He goes, but it'd be good for you. And like, you're probably right, but I do that over here. But I mean, but I think that's important. So as a salesperson, we have to figure that out. So last question in relation to this, how do you know you're in the right culture fit from the sales seat? How do you know that before you say, yeah, I want to join up? Or do you always have to take a risk?
I think there's an element to which the latter is true. Because culture can be hard to read on the surface. It's not a surface level thing. It's not a surface level thing to change. And I don't think it's a surface level thing to read. I think to some extent you always take a risk. I think with Deksia, for me, there felt less of a risk, truthfully. There was immediate connection there. This felt like a place where it felt very at home, very, very fast. But again, it came back down to that. Okay, we have processes that are in place. You're not expecting me to go navigate the Wild West by myself, and then we're all upset when nothing lands. this is not a 6-month-old business, so we there's history there. So I think it comes down to that. I think it comes down to being able to ask the right questions on the front end.
So trust your gut is part of it?
Absolutely. I 100% trust your gut.
So when you walk into the building and there's this tension in the air, right? And you're there for the interview and you just feel the vibe, like people in the room, run.
Candidly, yeah. I think don't back down from the challenge, right? So if you walk in and you feel challenged, push. But I think, yeah, trust your gut.
The challenge is fine, but I'm talking about just the culture has this, like, there's a tension in the air that nobody's happy.
Yes.
And they're there for the wrong reasons.
Right.
I think you got to trust your gut in those situations.
Agreed.
But you're right. We always do take a risk.
Yep.
So Deksia, tell us tell the audience why they should give you a call. Tell them what Deksia does.
That's a great question.
I can say that my brands, all of my brands, they've created. They've designed them. They've given me backstory. They've helped me with a variety of different things. My business card, Joshua, I don't know how he did it, but we're sitting in his barn drinking bourbon and smoking cigars, and he said, "This is what you need to do." Right? And he convinced me to buy a $4.50 card each. They're cool.
They are. Yeah.
So talk about the cool of Deksia.
Yeah. So one of the things I love about Deksia, we talk about Deksia as a full journey agency. And so you'll find a myriad of agencies that will tackle individual tactics. So they'll approach you and they'll go, I think it's time for you to do paid media or a new website or whatever. One of the things that I think really makes Deksia unique and separates us from the pack, if you may, is our strategy first approach, and it leans into this full journey experience. And so everything in our house, in our world, is driven by a strategic approach, start to finish. And so you approached me and you said, what does it look like for me to do this project? Our first questions around it would be strategy. How do we deploy strategy in this regard? Really, how do we weave together more than one tactic to succeed for you in this regard? We don't have very many clients that execute a single tactic with us, to be honest with you. It's not a huge thing that we do. We certainly have them, and we welcome the conversations. We believe that marketing works best when your best interests are put first. And the honest answer for marketing is that single tactic is not your best interest. You need to deploy a holistic strategy that covers all the bases for you. People think that marketing is sexy. Marketing is a little dull and consistent, and the same thing over and over and over again. We say that repetition builds reputation, and marketing is almost certainly reputation management. And so for us, we say, hey, why don't we go on a full journey with you, start to finish? We can phase that and we can build that, but we don't want to come in and be your ads team. We want to come in and build you a full strategy, start to finish, something that takes your business where it wants to go. The goals that we set for you will be entirely built around your business goals. We love to work backwards on those. And we would sit down and we would say, Walter, what do you want to achieve in 2026? Rather than here's how we think our marketing is going to knock it out of the park for you in 26, and here's your clicks and CTRs and all of these. We can get granular, and it's important too, because I think that helps us determine success. But the very first question we're asking is, what does success mean to you in 2026? And how do we build our engagement with you around that?
You got to have a plan of knowing where you're trying to go.
Yep.
Right? What's the battle plan? And if your battle plan is to take, the entire state of Michigan,
right,
and you're in Indiana,
yeah,
like what does that look like? Because you're not going to get it all in one big chunk.
Right.
Right. So, how do we go about this? How do we build on it? What's the foundational elements? Right. And then how do we add to it? Because there's lots of considerations there.
Right.
You got competition, you got current customers, you got budget issues, right? You got what you're capable of doing. And I know I remember the first question that Joshua asked me when we had the first business conversation. I was like, I got lead gen as an issue. He's like, okay, so let's pretend I could get you 100 new leads next month. What, can you close any of them? Right. And, it pissed me off, but it also was a great question, because is that really your problem?
Is it really your problem? And is it actually in your best interest for me to get you 100 leads right now? Everybody wants leads. We want leads, we want leads, we want leads. And then we ask questions like, do you have any sales collateral to close them? Because if we did bring you 100 leads next month, would you squander 70, 80, 90 of them?
And what's your process to close them? Do you have people to close them? What's their close percentage, right? Because my close percentage at that time was 87%. But that's a very specific number based on that is a qualified buyer. Yeah, that's the last couple of stages. If I get them to this stage, I can close them. But if they're not really qualified, I shouldn't be talking to them. So absolutely. The lead gen process, right, is much more complicated. Yes. That they got to be weeded out, qualified and disqualified. So best way to reach Matthew. You said some smart stuff here. We're going to have, your website. We're going to have your email in the show notes. I think we have LinkedIn. Like, what's the best way? What's your preference?
Matthew at Deksia. It's that simple.
Okay.
Drop me an email.
So, if you're looking for that marketing plan to figure out what you've been doing well and what you haven't been doing well, give Matthew a call. Dude, appreciate the insights, the conversation. I love the book, right? It's I think you're right. Every business owner should read that book.
Business owner needs to read it, for sure.
All right, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.